Hey everyone, welcome back. It's been a while since I've posted a video again, but it can't really be helped. Classes started up again in August and have been inflicting upon me incredible amounts of stress and pain ever since. That, of course, doesn't stop me from inflicting more stress and pain on myself during my weekend live streams by playing Terraria mods that are entirely too difficult.
Are you kidding me, dude? I let that hit me. Give me a fuck. That's what gets me? That's what gets me.
The most recent of these that I've been exploring is the Infernum mod, which has impressed me in a number of ways, the specific way starring in today's video being how this mod reworks everyone's favorite disembodied skull, Skeletron. For some context as to why a rework might be particularly impressive in this case, you have to understand that Skeletron, as an early Terraria boss, is a little underwhelming. The giant floating skull is a simple and fun concept for an enemy, and Skeletron is an absolute icon of Terraria, but unfortunately, he's kind of a wet noodle of a boss. Bro kinda just floats after you and swats at you with his hands. Yeah, you pretty much instantly die if you get caught during his spinning attack, and he shoots some skulls at you in expert and master mode that can be a little annoying to dodge, but for the practiced player, that's basically all you have to worry about, and all of these attacks are easily avoidable for the most part if you have a decent arena. All of this is just to say that in the base game, Skeletron really is no more dangerous than an angry chihuahua. However, much to my surprise upon experiencing it, his fight comes back with an absolute vengeance in the Infernum mod, which turns our beloved pushover of a boss into an absolute monster. If you happen to not know what the Infernum mod is, it's basically an add-on, or expansion of the Calamity mod, which itself is an enormous Terraria content mod that adds loads of new bosses, items, biomes, NPCs, and more. One of the most notable parts of the Calamity mod is the inclusion of two custom game difficulties, the Revengeance and Death modes, which were made with the intention of giving you a very hard time. The Calamity mod Infernum mod, which I just call the Infernum mod, is heavily focused around the addition of a third difficulty on top of the already existing ones, called Infernum mode. This new mode primarily features reworks of all Terraria and Calamity bosses, intended to completely change how most of them work, and generally to make them a lot harder. Good ol' Skelly Boy here is a shining example of this, because Infernum Skeletron is ridiculous. For comparison, base Calamity Skeletron already has some extra features that make the fight significantly more difficult, like extra hands, more swinging power, regenerating hands, and a new teleportation attack. Infernum says, forget that, and just goes ahead and turns Skeletron's fight into a bullet hell. Or at least, it gives him bullet hell phases, which is how most Terraria bullet hells work. Of course, the battle doesn't start off quite as intense when you first summon him, as his first attacks just include barrages of his trusty skull projectiles, which are still extremely easy to dodge, and the most basic charge attack imaginable. Upon hitting 85% HP, however, the fight starts getting out of hand immediately, with Skeletron trapping the player in a large box made of energy projectiles, firing shotgun blasts of skulls at them while his hands shoot these same energy projectiles from below on either side. After the onslaught, he launches into another charge attack, which isn't really much more intimidating than the first one, but does prevent you from simply looping around and circling him while he does it. When he stops, Skeletron will use his hands to fire more skulls in waves before lowering his hands to either side of the player, releasing a storm of projectiles from each one. Skeletron will utilize these four techniques in a cycle until he's brought below 50% HP, where he'll pull out and intermix another set of attacks, which include trapping the player in another box and raining skulls on their head, a charge attack that actually can pose a threat for once, and horizontal waves of projectiles that he fires from his hands. All of this makes for a rather varied fight, but the majority of the difficulty for me comes from the two bullet hell attacks that he puts you through. Now, I'm certainly no beast when it comes to playing Terraria, but I've gone through my fair share of of difficult challenges in this game, and I think that Skeletron having actual true bullet hell phases, which include a multitude of projectiles coming from opposing directions and varying angles, is actually just insane for a boss at this phase of the game. While nothing special compared to the attacks of later bosses, with the equipment that you're able to obtain at this stage, these attacks are absolutely brutal. Even after you figure out what's going on and how you might want to go about dodging them, small mistakes can still easily compound and result in taking massive amounts of damage, very quickly ruining attempts. Looking at this battle and comparing it to most of the other pre-hard mode bosses I've fought in general, the bullet hell phases feel pretty extreme at the point in the game where you fight Skeletron. The space and angles that the bullet hell attacks cover seem way more complicated to figure out and navigate than the attacks of previous and even later bosses like the Deerclops and Wall of Flesh, and that extends past the bullet hells to attacks like these skull waves as well, because, I mean, like, honestly, I'm not a god. I'm not gonna make it through that gap, man. I think all of this is great, though. This fight and these attacks in particular are totally merciless, and to me, quite impressive. That being said, he might be a little too intimidating, as during my playthrough, Infernum Skeletron was enough of an absolute savage to end up easily being the hardest boss in pre-hard mode by a significant margin, and remained the hardest boss all the way up until the Calamity clone, which is like midway through hard mode. That is just crazy. Obviously, that's only in my experience, and others will probably have differing opinions on this boss and its difficulty relative to others, but in my case, just through attempt count, Skeletron easily trumps everything up until the Calamitas clone, and that's about as objective a measure of personal difficulty that you can get, so you can see where I'm coming from. Like I said, I think that this boss rework is awesome. The first thing I thought when seeing Skeletron trap me in a giant box and assault me with skulls and energy balls was, what the fuck? I want to make a video about this. So yeah, this one was just to show off this wild Skeletron fight, which to me truly felt unlike any other boss I've encountered during this early stage of Terraria before, both in difficulty as well as how the boss is actually made, which made it feel somewhat special to me and worthy of showcasing. That is going to wrap it up for today though. I have more videos in the works, more Infernum and Calamity stuff, so there should be more content coming soon. One final thing, I gotta end this video off with a much needed shout out for my first Patreon subscriber, YuckGen. I appreciate the support, my friend. You are awesome. And with that, I'm gonna see myself out. This is the victory attempt of the boss fight, so I'm just gonna let it play out so you guys can see the fight in its entirety. Please leave a like and consider subscribing if you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. All right, is he dead? Look at this animation, bro. What is that? I did it. Nice.